start with the assessment of this government and, of course, the ministers. Has any of them impressed you, and in what direction?
Oh, okay. Let me take it this way, because most times people tend to be very generic when you talk about the government. They single out President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. But you have the legs, you have the hands of the government. And these heads and hands of the government is essentially people like the ministers, people like, the technocrats, those in the civil service, and a whole lot of people. Now, let me particularly look at some of the people, the ministers, as they currently stand. By my own assessment, I will tell you without saying much about it is Festus Keyamo. Festus Keyamo is a legal practitioner we know very much. He's not been very much in the news for a very long time. I think there is a deliberate decision on his part not to be frequenting the media or be in the spotlight of the media. But somehow, Festus had done so much in the aviation industry, at least by clearing the over $160 million forest backlog, which is a very big and very huge thing that almost crumbled the aviation industry during the Buhari administration. He cleared that, and the reform that has been taking place in the aviation industry, he's been doing that very methodically, very systematically, and it's yielding result. Now, you also know there's a whole lot of infrastructural upgrade in most of the airport that we're having in the country currently as we speak. So to a very large extent, Keyamo has been doing so much in the aviation industry, and not much is being heard about it. I think when you make this level of achievement without saying much, it becomes more glorifying, it becomes much more pacifying, it also becomes even great for people to talk about. So Keyamo has been off news, but I think he's doing very well in the aviation industry. Now, who else do I pick? Well, people talk about, often Ojo, they talk about Ojo most of the time. Well, okay, Ojo is doing very well in the internal affairs ministry. But I just want to talk about, yes, let me talk about Wike himself. Wike is much more now. He's a super minister. Let me use that word, super minister. Wike has a political denominator character. And what I mean by that there is an inherent DNA around Wike that presupposes, that wires him to be domineering in everything he does. So it's a natural phenomenon that has also infiltrated with his political life. But the question we need to ask ourselves, because I look at it at the comparative level, I look at it at a very comparative level. I've asked myself, we have the FCT ministers that have come into Abuja in and out over the decades. Of course, the last person we heard so much about was El-Rufai. And El-Rufai, his time or his tenure in FCT largely was characterized by demolition and destruction. That is not to say that Wike is not also doing same. Because I understand that in the course of doing these things, a lot of things will happen. However, what I can say comparatively, based on what I've seen so far, anytime I come into Abuja and see a whole lot of things, I see some level of infrastructural upgrade. I see some areas being opened. I see some certain areas you see there's some level of infrastructure activity taking place. And not only that, if you go to places like Kubwa, you go to places like Kuje, you go to places like Asokoro, a whole lot of areas are being opened up. But the other flip side is the destruction that is taking place for this development to take place. And one of the things you need to also find out is drawing a distinct line between infrastructural upgrade, and also this destruction to pivot for the infrastructural development. Now, that is an area he has come under enormous attack. And that attack is not doing very well for him, because a lot of people contend and say very strongly that Wike is destroying a whole lot of things, especially the green areas and all that. Now, but let me ask let me ask everybody, what is the face of Abuja currently as we speak? Is there any identifiable, visible infrastructural development that has taken place? I would say yes, it has. It has. And that to some extent is something a plus for him on side. But on the other side, he mixes politics with governance, which are two different things. The other thing that is happening is that his political life is much more dominating his governance side. And so to that extent, I will tell you that is an area he needs to also come down, begin to walk around. So for me, I can tell you why comparatively saying, based on the comparison that I've seen so far, what has happened in the last years, compared to what Wike has done. Wike has done well, infrastructural wise. One of the things you need to notice is the influx of people into Abuja, main city. And the reason is because most of the hinterlands are becoming very, very insecure for a lot of people. You go across the states, especially from the north, you can see a very high level of administration of people from the northern part of the country. The best and the next place they go to come to is Abuja. The migration is even not much more from the eastern part or the southern part of the country, but largely from the north. So definitely it's quite understandably that you have a lot of traffic within the Abuja community, the cosmopolitan Abuja city-state. Now, insecurity, is it only in Abuja? Insecurity is spread across this country. And it is not only the function of Wike. I'm not standing for him, but as the chief security officer of this FCT, Wike has a duty to ensure that at least there is a significant appreciable level of security within the FCT community. Now, what has he done so far to do that? I can tell you for sure it's not been very good, the kind of information I've been getting over the weeks, over the months, over the years concerning the security situation in Abuja. It continued to get bad and it continued to get worse. But the insecurity in Abuja is a larger and a much more broader implication or a much more effect of what is happening in the national security landscape. So it is a function of what is happening in the Nigerian security landscape, and also it's impacting on FCT. Now, what do we do about it? The president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is the chief security officer of this country, and sitting in Abuja, he has a lot to do to see what he can also help in this regard. But the bus stops in Wike's table. So, to your question, yes, there is high level of insecurity in Abuja, and I think it requires an urgent and immediate solution to resolve it.
Let's look at Nnamdi Kanu's continued incarceration and, of course, the unending litigation.
I need to give it to you up front before I begin to look at the whole thing that leads to Nnamdi Kanu being in the state where the whole thing has got into. Nnamdi Kanu had no business being incarcerated this long. I say it, and I'm very, very vehement about it. Nnamdi Kanu has not committed the kind of sin or the kind of atrocities, the kind of constitutional infraction any Nigerian has committed. Now, you have people like Sunday Igboho, who was arrested with arms. Igboho is going about doing whatever he's doing. Now, you have several kingpins, whether they are bandits, whether they are terrorists, or whether they're anything they are called, they are free and going about their businesses. Nnamdi Kanu is simply expressing his constitutional and humanitarian right. And so to keep on caging Nnamdi Kanu or incarcerating him is not only a disservice to humanity, is also a great constitutional crisis that will come into this country. Let me take it from this point. How do we explain a situation? A man who has stood up clearly that what he is fighting for is the marginalization, perceived marginalization of a certain set of people in this country. And it has a historical anecdote. Now, what is the historical anecdote? The certain people, the Igbo people of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, over the decades have been marginalized in this country. It is not a matter of allegation. It is not a matter of perception. It is something that is as strong as visible, seen everywhere. And Nnamdi Kanu has stood up as the only person that consistently over the years and had said to everybody that my people are suffering, that my people are not enjoying what they are supposed to enjoy in the country called Nigeria. On account of that, he stood up and questioned the Nigerian state. So now, the Nnamdi Kanu issue is a multi-layered issue. First of all, you need to understand that there is a legal perspective to it. There is a political perspective to it. There is an economic perspective to it. There's also a socio-economic perspective to it. Now, let's look at the legal side of it. This is a man that was arrested in 2022. 2021. And when he was arrested, what was he arrested for? The charges were terrorism, treasonable felony, and managing an unlawful society. Now, those are the three things that he was accused of. Now, they went on trial. By 2017, the court granted him bail, and he came out. By 2022, when they attacked his house. They attacked his house in Umuahia. The natural instinct for somebody to survive is to see how he can survive. It's just to find a way to exit the environment where he was being attacked. And so he fled the particular scene, and he's fleeing of the particular scene. He found himself in the UK or wherever it is. And on account of that, they said he has run away. Now, the point being made is that while he was there, an arrangement was done to get him from Kenya, where he went to, and brought him back to the country. Since then, the legal issue has remained the way it is. It's not been moving forward. It's not going back. There has been a sustained effort directed not only directed by the state, but there's some political contending interests within the Nigerian state, within the Igbo elite, within the political class to keep to put Kanu down. So, in the helicopter view, the Kanu phenomenon, the Kanu issue, is one issue that can consume the Nigerian state if it is not well managed. It is beyond the rhetorics we keep on talking about. The Kanu issue is an exemplary issue to show how we can manage a country. And if that is not done properly, if it is not done methodically, if it is not done with a sense of genuineness on the part of the Nigerian state, to see how they can have a political dialogue to manage the situation, it will definitely create more crisis. Of course, as we speak now, the Southeast is agitated. There is a plan of a protest that is coming up. Now, the nature and the reason the entry of that particular protest, that we're also trying to analyze. But the one thing remains that there is a very large number of population of Nigerians, whether they're from the Southeast, whether they're from the South, whether they're from the Southwest, whether from the North. Everybody has one particular focus now to getting Nnamdi Kanu out of the place. Then you ask yourself, why is it now that the whole focus, the attention is for Nnamdi Kanu to come out? Is it for the purpose of securing a political capital? That is the question we need to ask ourselves. Why would it be at the timing now that is happening? Well, whatever timing it is, we're all interested. What we're interested in is Nnamdi Kanu should be left off hook and let him rejoin not only his family. He has a right, because as we speak, his health is bad and he has to go and take medical treatment wherever it is. So finally, regarding Nnamdi Kanu, my position is Nnamdi Kanu has not committed any sin which all the terrorists in this country have committed. Nnamdi Kanu is not as worse as Sunday Igboho. Nnamdi Kanu is not as demonic as the line of terrorists that are lined up in the north. They are everywhere. Nnamdi Kanu is not as evil as the bandits that spread out. That you have a bandit that will come and have a meeting with the Nigerian state operatives. Yet Nnamdi Kanu, who did not carry a gun, who did not do anything that is inhuman to speak like this set of people, is kept incarcerated in a cell. It's time for Nnamdi Kanu to come out from the prison, and we can move forward for a political dialogue on how we can reintegrate the Igbo people back to the nation state called Nigeria.
Why is it the Southeast governors are not strongly committed, so to say, in the release of Nnamdi Kanu?
There is a huge crisis among the political elite. Now, the lack of cohesion amongst the political elite is one factor that we need to also ask ourselves. Now, you need to find yourself, who are the governors of the Southeast? How did they get to where they are? You're talking about Mba, who just defected to APC. You're talking about Alex Uti. You're talking about Soludo. You're talking about several of the governors in the Southeast. Yes, Francis Wifre and Hope Uzodinma and the rest of them. Now, if I ask you one particular question, in yourself, based on the assessment of all that has happened, do you think that Hope Uzodinma would support the release of Nnamdi Kanu? There's no way he will support it.
Why do you think so?
Why I think so is because before even he got to before his incarceration, you saw the battle, not only the media battle, you saw the punches, you saw not only the verbal punches, you saw the political volleys that was going on between himself and the governor of Imo State. Now, not only that, he sees Hope Uzodinma sees Nnamdi Kanu as one of those who had made Imo State ungovernable for himself. So no right-thinking or rational governor will want Nnamdi Kanu to come out. But it is time to understand that this is a statesman. I am now a statesman that governs a people, and these parochial things should not be features or factors that I should look into, but rather it should be things I will consider in a broader perspective. So to your question, why is it that people like Hope Uzodinma, who is a governor, would not want to Nnamdi Kanu? I have just addressed that. He would not want, because that time he made it in a way that it becomes very uncomfortable for him to govern the state. So Hope Uzodinma said. Now, for other governors, you need to understand the background of Oti himself. Oti is not a very noisy person. Oti is a very sound, professional, laid back, but organized political leader that is doing much in Abia, and that is his constituency. I do know of a certainty that old OT has been at the background doing a whole lot for Nnamdi Kanu to come out, even though he might not come out in the media to talk about it. But there's a lot of work that's been going on the ground to see how Nnamdi Kanu will come out. First, it is his constituency, because that is where he comes from. Secondly, it will also be a political plus for him. Thirdly, it will now also bolster his chances of re-election. Fourthly, it will put him in a position to even get closer to the president, and also to see how they can project the Igbo cause. So I see him being at the forefront of this particular campaign, but he is being also very, very cautious in his movement. Now, for people like Winfrey of Airborne, I can see neither here nor there where he is. Of course, you should understand his political mentor, Umahi. Umahi is vehemently opposed to anything that has to do with the Biafran cause. So I do not see any difference. I do not see any impact. I do not see any way his boy to speak, or his political son will want to go to
So my people, let's be honest, the fear of Nnamdi Kanu's release is not about security or peace, it's about power. Some of these Southeast governors and 27 presidential hopefuls are not really afraid of Kanu the man, they're afraid of what he represents, because once Kanu steps out of that DSS cell, everything changes. The narrative changes. The loyalty of the masses, especially in the Southeast, will shift immediately from these political elites to him. And that means their political control, their influence, and even their 2027 calculation will collapse overnight. Let's not forget, Nnamdi Kanu is not a regular politician. He's a symbol of resistance, someone who can command a crowd without even spending a single naira. Meanwhile, most of these politicians have to pay people just to attend a rally. Now, if you look closely, you will see that some governors are deliberately playing safe, pretending to support his release publicly, but secretly lobbying Abuja to delay it. Why? Because they know his freedom could awaken the consciousness of the people and expose years of political compromise and silence. So when you hear about some Southeast governors oppose his release, don't just think about the headline, think about what they stand to lose. The fear is not about Kanu, the fear is about accountability, relevance, and truth. And when it comes to 27 presidential hopefuls, especially from those from the South, Kanu's release could instantly shift political sympathy. People will ask, if Kanu suffered this much for the Igbo's cause, what did our leaders do? That question alone is enough to end political career. So yes, I think the battle over Nnamdi Kanu's release has gone beyond legal or security ground. It's now a political chess game. Some want him silent until after 2027, while others know his voice could reshape the entire Nigerian political landscape. And that's the reason why you see so many people will come out publicly and tell you that I want Nnamdi Kanu to be released. But in private, they are delaying his release. In private, they're telling Bola Ahmed Tinubu, don't release this man, because they know that only his presence alone can expose a lot of things. Because if Nnamdi Kanu is released today, a lot of things that's been hidden that have been hidden in politics is going to be released. So the truth is, some Southeast governors are not comfortable with Kanu's influence. They know that once he's released, their own people might begin to question every decision they have made since his arrest. So the silence, the betrayal, the backdoor deals, Kanu's release could expose who truly stood for the people and who stood for the federal paycheck. So, especially from the south, they are watching closely. A free Nnamdi Kanu could automatically redirect the southeast votes, making it harder for those who rely on old political structures to control his region. His presence could turn the entire 27 game upside down. Anyway, guys, that's what we have for today. Let me know your thoughts below. And also, if you're coming across my channel for the first time, do wait to hit the subscribe button, like and share this video. So, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys again in my next video.